Hi, welcome to Sabbath School Daily, where we have been studying from this lesson right here, God's mission, my mission. This week we're studying from lesson number 12, which has the title Esther and Mordecai, and today is Tuesday's lesson, which has the title Mordecai's Faithful Witness. We ended yesterday's lesson by mentioning that there might be some situations where being a little bit more subtle about what we believe in, about our religion, can be wise and discerning. But there will always come a moment where you have to stand up, where the line has to be drawn. And that's what today's lesson is about the moment where Mordecai, he had to draw the line and he had to stand up for what he believed in. Look at what the lesson says about it. In Esther 3, we learned that King Xerxes, Ahasuerus, honored Haman and gave him a high position full of power. Everyone was told that they must bow down before Haman, but we read, Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor. The Bible does not give the reason that Mordecai did not kneel before this man, but we know why. He is a faithful Jew. Mordecai is not willing to pay homage to a descendant of Agag, an Amalekite, enemies of his own people since the Exodus. How could a faithful Jew kneel down before an Amalekite, or, for that matter, worship anyone but the Lord? In the continuation of the story, we see here in Esther 3 verse 3, the king's servants who were within the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" Though we don't know in detail how he responded, the next verse says that Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. Surely in that response, Mordecai had an opportunity to explain that as a worshiper of the God who created the heavens and the earth, he could not worship any sinful human being. So this is the exact opposite of yesterday's situations. Yesterday, we were talking about how it can be wise to be more subtle, to be discreet in some situations. But here, Mordecai is drawing a line. Here, he's clearly being forced to do something that goes against what he believes in, and he stands up. He refuses to do it in honor for his God. So while there might be moments where it's important for you to be subtle, there are these moments where you have to be clear, where you have to stand up. Try to apply that to your life. Are there moments where you feel that you have to stand up, where you've had to position yourself to make it clear that you will be faithful to your God? How did you do it? I feel that sometimes we are unnecessarily brash or outspoken in standing up, because while we do have to stand up and draw the line, we have to do so and still give a good example of the God that we serve. In scripture, where you see people standing up for the Lord, standing up for what they believe in, they do it in a respectful manner. They do it in a self-possessed manner. Be that with Daniel and his friends, be that with Daniel himself. You'll see that with Joseph. In moments where they did have to draw the line, they were nonetheless respectful. They were nonetheless self-possessed. Joseph's story is quite an interesting one because he actually had to run away, right? But he still did it in a respectful way. After all, he said, look, how could I ever do this to my God? How could I do this to your husband who trusts me with everything? So he's being respectful. We need to know how to stand up for the Lord, how to stand for truth, and yet do so in a way where we are being witnesses of the God of heaven. Think about Jesus himself going through all the abuse, all the injustice, all of the corruption that's happening on that Friday, and yet he is in control of himself. He is self-possessed. He is not outspoken. He is navigating that situation with the majesty of the king. And we're called to have the Spirit of Christ even in these moments. And even so, doing all of that, we know that people will still hate and persecute those who stand for what is good. Look at the last paragraph of today's lesson. When Haman wanted to destroy the Jewish people, describing them as a certain people dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom, who keep themselves separate, their customs are different from those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. A people whose customs are different and who do not obey the king's laws, a perfect recipe for persecution. Friends, we are coming to a time in this world's history where God's people will be persecuted again, where standing for the truth will be seen as standing for lies or misinformation or disinformation, where they will be seen as something to be cast aside. And the question is, will we be able at that time to stand up regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the consequences, to draw the line and hold fast to what is true, good, and pure? My prayer is that you and I may be able to stand on that day. And that begins now with the small tests. Don't think that when the big ones arrive, you're going to be faithful to them if on the small ones right now you weren't faithful, that you haven't been faithful. And so pay attention, take notice of the small trials of life now. Be faithful. And I'm sure that at that point, the Lord will give you strength to be faithful in the big moments, in the big situations. Please study your lesson. This was a big one, an important one. Look at the examples that are being mentioned here. Look at the texts. They're so beautiful. They're so deep. Also, comment down below with any questions or any comments. I'd love to interact with you. And please remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to our videos. We release one every day. And I hope to see you again here tomorrow for another Sabbath School Daily.